Alright, this is a preview video of the Black Oak smoking system, or the Boss as it's called. I'm making this for a client. This particular pit's going to Lake Charles, Louisiana. Just want to talk about how to operate the pit, some of the features. Let's start at the firebox. Your firebox handle, I've built it so that when you're pulling it, this will not drop down. So if you're going to open the firebox, you rotate it up and it'll open. As you can see, we've got a fire. We're burning it in right now. Actually, we're cooling it down. We've had it up to about 400 degrees. Your dampers, I installed a damper plate on both sides. As you can see here, what I recommend is whichever side the wind is blowing from, you close that damper. On the other side, we have this one open. Like I said, we've been burning it in, so it's wide open. If you're going to run at 200 degrees to 225, you're going to find out that your damper setting is going to be about a third the way open, maybe close to a half here on the front. As you learn the personality of this pit, you'll learn exactly where to set your dampers so that you'll get the heat you want. What I recommend you do is you get out before you're ready to start cooking, maybe an hour in advance, and get you a good fire going with a good bed of coals, some good oak, or whatever firewood you're using. You can start with charcoal, propane gas. I use an old fish burner. I just stick it through one of the holes and get my fire going. You want a good bed of coals. That'll give you the consistency that you want. Typically, you're only going to burn maybe a couple of armloads of split oak through a whole smoke cycle. Your experiences may differ depending on how you burn your fires. Walking around to the warming box, the way the handles work, I've got these railroad spikes forged into a clamp. Now, as you can see, there's smoke rolling out of here right now, and I'm going to explain to you why. There's a hole right here where the smoke comes in. So you can use this warming box not only to keep food warm just from the fire off the top of the fire pit box here. You can cook beans, whatever you want to in here, or you can open it up and you can actually use this to smoke in. One of the features that I do, I put a channel around the inside of the doors, and I've got a heat rope here, a furnace rope to seal it in and make sure that all the heat stays inside the pit. Some of my customers will spray this down. This is a fiberglass and graphite rope. Some people will spray this down with cooking oil because they're worried about these fibers. I've never had any problems with it. That's entirely your call. To close the door, just put the hook behind the catch. And I'm trying to do this one-handed because I only have one glove on. And then just lock them down. You've got 3 thermometers on here. It should be very controllable. Now, to engage that smoking pit or that warming box, this lever right here to the right side of your shelf is a slide damper. When you slide that shut, it completely cuts off the smoke from your firebox. From your warming box. If we look inside here, you'll be able to see that slide damper operate. Open and close. Very simple, very straightforward. I do not have the racks installed yet since we're just burning it in. Most of my clients prefer to season their racks. They've all got different methods for doing that. Some of them wash them down with Dawn dishwashing detergent and then oil them. I don't take care of that step. I leave them out until I get ready, until it cools down, and I bring it to the customer. Same thing on these catches here. And by the way, I'm going to have to do a little correction on the top side of that door to make it work properly, but that'll be done before we deliver it. Same thing, just lock the catches down. Now, back to the warming box and how it operates. Up here on the stack, you'll notice that there's 2 damper handles. Right now, I have the main damper closed, in the closed position, because I'm redirecting smoke through the warming box. If I don't want to smoke in the warming box, I'm going to close that damper. I'm going to grab the head of this one and pull it to me, and that's going to close that warming box completely off. If I close that off, then I'm going to turn this handle straight in line with the pipe, and that allows the smoke to come from the firebox through the pit and then out the damper without going into the smoking box. You're going to find out that somewhere at about the 5 and 11 or 4 and 10 position is where you're going to want to run this damper to achieve a 220 degree smoke. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple to operate pit. I designed it to hold heat, be easy to use, not burn a whole lot of wood. The whole key to this is being able to drink a beer while you're smoking and not have to chase this thing all over the place. Now, down in this end, when you get the pit, you'll see I've written max fill, and I've drawn a line across there, welded a line across the end of the tank. This pit is intended to be run wet. So you're going to want to level it up good and then put water in the bottom of this pit. Just run a hose in there and fill it up. But do not go above the top of that line. If you go above that line, you're going to get water in your firebox. As long as you keep your water level below that line, you'll be fine. That water is going to sit all the way down here against the end of the firebox, and it's going to heat up. That heat is going to pull that steam out, and it's going to roll underneath the baffle plate all the way up to this end of the tank, where it's going to roll out and heat the chamber, and it's going to pick up all that moisture, which will give you a good, really nice consistent barbecue that's tender and flavorful and still has juices in it. If you'll notice underneath, you've got a 3/4 ball valve. That's used to drain the tank. Some people prefer to put a spigot fitting on the bottom of it so they can hook a hose up to it. That way they're not dumping it right underneath, right in their yard. One thing I might say is that I don't recommend leaving water standing in this pit for a long period of time. It is fairly thick steel. It'll last a long time. It's 3/16 steel. But if you leave water in them for an extended period of time, they will rust. The easiest way that I've found to clean it is to get that water hot and then drain it while it's hot. That way all the fat won't plug up your drain valve. These plates are removable. So if you ever for any reason need to replace a baffle plate, they're pretty simple, pretty straightforward to pull out and replace. Everything on this pit should last for at least 2 generations, if not 3. So if you buy one when you're in your 30s, your grandkids will be fighting over it. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to it once you get the damper system figured out. On this side we have a wood rack, place for you to put your coolers, your wood, what have you. And we can build these trailers any way a person wants them built. We can add places for deep fryers or sinks, anything else a person would want. We do build our own trailers. Everything on here was built by us, and it's a great system. It's consistent, and especially if you put the water in it. Now, back to breaking it in, what I recommend you do, some people spray the inside down with oil. I've never found that to be a real advantage. I've learned that if you'll put water in it and burn it about 3 times, just go out there to about 3 days worth of burning it for a few hours, you're going to find out that it's going to build up from the sap in the wood and the smoke. It's going to build up a nice patina inside that pit. The only thing that I would really recommend oiling would be your cooking racks. Like I said, I recommend that you wash them down with Dawn dishwashing liquid, and then spray them down with cooking oil, put them in and get them hot. And like I said, burn it about 3 times, and you'll notice that it'll start to turn a gold color, and then it'll become a nice black. One thing I failed to mention earlier, sorry about that, I had to turn my head away from the smoke getting my eyes. This pit will have 2 slide out racks here. Now this top rack, there's no way to capture it. It will hang, it won't just drop down. It'll pull out, but if you pull it out too far, it will fall. So you want to be careful and never pull it out past 2 or 3 inches from the end of this track. You want to leave 2 or 3 inches of it back inside the pit, in other words. This bottom rack will be captured. There will be 2 slots here, And when you pull that rack out, as long as you don't line it up with those slots, it won't come out, it won't fall out. Inside the warming box, there will be 3 circular racks, one located here, another here, and then another here. I personally like to use my warming box for cooking chicken, ribs, smaller things like that, and keep the big part of my pit for my pork butts and briskets and bigger cuts of meat. Another thing I need to mention about the warming box, if you're watching your temperature gauge, you're going to see that the warming box is going to get a little bit hotter. If you just open it wide open on your damper, you'll notice that the temperature gauge on your warming box, it's going to run a little bit hotter than the main part of your pit because it's also picking up the heat from the firebox. So what I recommend doing is regulate your heat coming into that warming box with your slide damper. You can be very precise with these, and what I recommend doing is getting your dampers on your firebox set the way you want them, which, like I said, about a half to a third of a hole showing is normally just about perfect. Get your dampers down there set, and then use your stovepipe dampers to control your heat, and you can be real precise with that. This thing is a big pit, and once you put the water in it, it's got a lot of mass to it, so it's not going to change temperatures just real fast. Now, you can put a roaring fire in there and crank the heat up, but it's not going to move real fast. So that gives you the opportunity to check it once every hour to hour and a half, and it's not going to vary a whole lot. Once you get your fire established and you've got your temperature set, you're going to find out that you're not going to have to do a whole lot to it. Once your wood starts burning low, you go out and stoke it up, add some more wood to it. The temperature may jump up 5-10 degrees, but with the water in it and with the mass of the cooker, it's just not going to have the wild temperature swings that some of the smaller, thinner pits do. So I can't think of anything else to add. If you do have any questions, call Black Oak at 501-628-6036, and you can ask for Mo or Shane or Ty, and one of us will be more than happy to answer any questions you've got. If you happen to stumble across this video on YouTube and you're interested in a pit, just give us a call and we'll talk to you. This is our standard pit. I know this design works, and I try to build this all the time without a whole lot of modification to the pit itself. We do build a half-size backyard barbecue pit, which is exactly half of a propane tank, so it's still got a lot of volume to it. It's not trailer mounted, it's mounted on wagon wheels, but it's a nice pit, and it'll do more than enough for a standard family, and it operates exactly the same as this one does. So if you're interested, give us a call. If you have any questions, give us a call. And since I'm making this for Jackie Lack in South Louisiana, Jackie, I hope you have a good time with it, and I hope you show those people down in Lake Charles what good Black Oak barbecue pit barbecue tastes like. I appreciate it, and thanks for the attention.